Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. One thing Access doesn't do well is store dates that are either before the year 100 or after the year 9999. So if you have to store BC or BCE dates before the year 1, or dates far in the future, or something like the age of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, Access really doesn't handle those dates. So in this video, I'll show you my favorite way to store that stuff internally, and then how do you display it for your users. Today's question comes from Dagbjart, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. I actually looked online to try to find a pronunciation guide, and I couldn't find that specific name. So Dagbjart from Denmark, one of my silver members, and he asks, how can I store and display dates BC or BCE before the Common Era in Access? Well, if you're going to use the date type field in Microsoft Access, valid dates go from the year 100 to the year 9999 CE, Common Era or AD if you prefer. That is because Access stores dates as a numeric value internally. The value of 0 is December 30th, 1899. Why? I don't know. That's just what Microsoft decided to do. So internally, dates are stored numerically from the number minus 647,000 something to plus about 3 million. And those are days. Remember, internally, Access stores a value of 1 as a day, which makes it easy for doing date calculations. If you want to see how many days are between one date and another, just subtract the values and you get the number of days. You can multiply that by 7 to get weeks. You can do all kinds of easy math to figure out like someone's age, and I've got other videos on that. So Access is real good for most dates that we would encounter in our lifetimes. You know, people's dates of birth, their ages, accounting information, that kinds of stuff. But if you want to store dates from historic events, like the eruption of Vesuvius or the extinction of the dinosaurs, and you want to calculate, for example, the number of years between the founding of Rome and today, okay, those kinds of dates just don't work in Access. So I did my research, of course. I Googled to see what else was out there and if anybody else made any suggestions. There's very little out there from other people about storing information in these large historic figures. And most people just suggest, well, just store it as text because you're probably not going to be doing math on it anyways. Well, that's not good for me. I might want to be able to do some calculations and say, okay, how many years ago from right now was the founding of Rome? So if you want to do math on these numbers, you have to store them in numeric data types. So what I suggest, and this is the simplest method I could come up with, is I suggest use 3 different fields. Day, month, and year. Store them in 3 different fields. And the reason why is you might not have all of this information. If you have, for example, my birthday, you know it's October 23rd, 1972. Okay, no problem. Dinosaur extinction, 65 million years ago. So you're going to put that in, but you don't know the month and the day, right? The Neanderthals, I just put in there, what if they were around 70,000 years ago in June? I think I did that just for an example of how to display just the year and the month. You might only know the year and the month. Okay, the first Olympics, for example, 776 BCE, but you don't know the month. But at least if you have the data stored in your table, that way you can assemble it however you want. All right, if you know the date with the year and the month, you can put just the year and the month together. If you know just the year, just display the year. If you've got all 3 pieces, display that. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do in this lesson. Now, for these 3 fields, we can use a byte, which is a number, for day and month. Those can be between 0 and 255. You can use integer if you want to, if you're really cramped for space. If you've got tons and tons and tons and tons of records, tens of thousands of them, then you want to use these smaller data types. But if you want to use integer or even long integer, that's fine. It's not going to kill you. Now for year, the largest number value you can store is in a double. Double's pretty big. In fact, it might even be too big. Double can be a number plus or minus 1.8 E308. What does that mean? Well, 1.8 E308 is the same as saying 1.8 times 10 to the 308th power. So that's a 10. That's a 1 with 308 zeros after it. So there's 100 zeros right there. So it's 3.8 of those. So it's a pretty big number. All right, that's before and after the existence of the universe. So, right, the universe is what, 14 billion years old? So that's a pretty big number. You could probably come down to a single, which is 10 to the 38th power, and that would be plenty, but we'll just use double. So here's my blank customer database. You could download a free copy of this template from my website if you want to. There's a link down in the description below. So let's open this guy up. So let's create a new table to store our dates in. So table design. And this will just be just an ID. We probably won't even use it, but I like to put an ID in every table just in case. All right, so we got 3 bits of information. My year, which will be a number of type double, right down there. I don't want a default value of 0, so I want it to default to the year 0. You may only know the month and the day. You might not know the year. So this type of system will allow you to store any kind of dates. If you just want to store, for example, someone's birthday as far as the month and day. If you're doing customers and you want to track when to send anniversary information, for example, all right, you might not want to put the year in there. So let's get rid of that, and therefore year could be null. Okay. So next we got month, my month. And I'm using my year and my month because year, month, and day are reserved words in Access. Don't use those for your fields. Okay? That'll be a number of type byte. That's the smallest kind of number you can have. It's always going to be a value from 0 to 255. It's going to be 1 to 12. And we can delete that default value as well. And same thing for my day, which is also a number of type byte. And get rid of that default value. And we might want to have a description in here. What is this? Right? Short text is fine. All right, let's save this as my date T. It's my date table. The table I'm storing all my dates in, or whatever kind of table you want to call it. All right, let's put some values in here. Okay, we got 1972, 10/23. That's Richard's birthday. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this. I did a little sample database before, so I'm just going to copy these over here instead of retyping all these. All right, copy and paste. There we go. All right, we got the dinosaur extinction. That's what I showed you earlier. Neanderthals. I just put month in there so we have an example that's got just the year and the month. Okay, the founding of Rome. All right, April 21st, 753. James Kirk's birthday, of course, very important date in the future. And the first Olympics. All right, let's put one more in here. Mom's birthday. And let's say you don't know the year, so you're just going to put in here 12/2. All right, I do know the year, but I'm just using that as an example. Now, I have them all apart like this. How do I put them together and display that date how I want to see it? Okay, notice that BCE dates are negative numbers. Okay, that's 65 million years ago, for example, 70,000 years ago. All right, that's the year 2233. If you want to have a big future date, that's fine too. Let's say 5 billion. Let's see, that's a million, right? Billion. 5 billion years in the future. Let's get rid of those. And this will be our sun goes red. Giant. Okay, whatever. So you can have astronomical values in here if you want to. You can have anthropological values in here if you want to. And you can store Mom's birthday. And I just wiped out Mom's birthday, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I typed right over that. Okay, let's do it again. 12/2, Mom's birthday. Okay. Now we can use a query to put these 3 things together to show them the way that you want to see them. All right, so let's make a query. Create. Query design. Let's bring in our date T. It's the only table we need. All right, close that. Date T. Close that. Okay. All right, let's bring in the description. And I'm going to put the dates in the format day, month, year. All right, I think that's the most universal way to display it, especially if you're not sure where the person's country is. Everyone understands it. You know, you got the U.S. system, which is day, month, year. Then you got in most of Europe, it's month, day, year. It's just confusing. So when it comes to things like this, where you're not sure, I like to go the day, then the full month name, or at least a 3-digit abbreviation, and then the year. All right, so we're going to combine those into one field over here. Let's one other thing that I thought of for just a second here. One other thing I thought of is let's put some validation rules in real quick. So let's save this what we've got here so far. Save this as date Q. I want to throw a couple validation rules on. Primarily because I don't want to have any dates outside of the valid ranges, and there is no year 0. So that's important to our calculations here in a second. So let's go to the date T real quick. And for the year, all right, the validation rule has to be greater than or less than 0. That's all, right? You got 1 BCE, right, to 1 CE. There was no year 0. And for the validation text, you can put in there, there was no year 0. Like that, whatever you want to see. All right, month. Right, month should be validation rule between 1 and 12. Okay, and that includes the endpoints with the between keyword. And my day validation rule should be between 1 and 31. And of course, you could put more advanced logic later on in your forms and your after update events, for example, if you want to make sure that February isn't 30 or things of that nature. Of course, tracking leap years is a little more of a tricky calculation, but if anyone really wants to see that, I could do a separate video on it. Okay, so now that we've got that set, close that. Save changes, yes. And it's just saying that existing data violates the rules that we got in here. But that's okay. So let's go back to our query. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to determine whether or not this year here is CE or BCE. That's why I want to make sure we didn't have a 0 in there because it would throw off this calculation. All right, so design view. And let's just shrink these up a little bit, save some space down here since I don't have a gigantic amount of room to work with. Okay, right there. So we're going to calculate, we're going to call this the suffix. Let's go on the end of the year, right? And this is going to use the if function, the immediate if, IIF. I've got tons of videos on the if function if you've never used it before. Go watch those videos now. I'll put a link down below. The if function basically says, if this condition is true, then use this value, otherwise use that value. It's an extremely versatile and powerful function. So we're going to say if my year is less than 0, comma, the suffix is then BCE, otherwise it's going to be CE, common era. There you go. And you can use AD and BC, whatever you want to use. If I run my query now, you can see the proper suffix right there. But I don't want to display the year then with that negative sign then. So we need the absolute value of that guy. All right, so we're going to go to design view. And I'm going to shrink this up now because we don't need it anymore. And right here, we're going to call this let's call it the absolute year. ABS year is going to be ABS of my year. That's all. ABS is a function that takes the absolute value. Basically strips off the negative sign. All right, and there you go. So there's our year. All right, we got the suffix. Let me shrink all this stuff up too here. Okay. All right, suffix and the absolute year right there. All right, now that I've got this, and this, and that, we can put together our actual name. So right-click, design view again. Our actual date, I meant date. Okay, right here. So what's it going to look like? We're going to go day, month, name, year. All right, so we'll just call this D, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we're going to say my day and a space and the month name of my month and a space and the absolute year, ABS year, and a space and our suffix. Okay, I'll zoom in so you can see that. That's what we got so far. All right, it's going to be my day, so 23rd, right? Month name, that's a function that returns the month name. So January, February, March, April, whatever. Then a space, then the absolute year we developed, and then our suffix. And this is all string concatenation. If you've never done string concatenation before, again, I got videos on that. I'll put a link down below. All right, let's see what this looks like now. Save it and run it. Okay, we got some errors and stuff hanging on in here. All right, what's going on? All right, well, the first error here, okay, this is because we don't have a month in there. We're trying to send a null value to the month name function, and that's not a good idea. The rest of these, though, where we've got a month in there, that works fine. There's my proper value there. And then here we've got June. There's an extra space in there, but we could deal with that. So there's a little bit of a space in front of that. We'll have to get rid of that manually. Okay, and then we got 2 December CE there. That's fine too. All right, it's looking good. We got some changes to make. Let's go back to design view. Let's take care of that month problem first. All right, we have to check to make sure that the month isn't null. So if, another if, right, is null my month, then put nothing here. Otherwise, put the month name and a space. And we'll put a close parentheses right there. All right, see what I did? I'm saying if the month is null, put nothing there. That's an empty string. Quote, quote, right? Double quotes, of course. And then if there is something in there, put the month name and a space. All right, let's save that. Take a peek, see what it looks like. All right, looks a lot better. Let's get rid of that leading space out there. All right, design view. This guy here is going to be a little complicated, but that's okay. All right. If there is no my day, if that's null, then don't put that space there. Now, there is a trick where you can do a little addition here, but I'll just use the if function. So we'll do if. We'll keep it consistent. If is null my day, then put nothing there. Otherwise, put my day and that space. All right, hit OK. Save it. Let's take a look. All right, looks pretty good. Got rid of that leading space. We got our CE, BCEs working. What's next? Well, most of the time for dates around our lifetime, we don't need the CE. If I see 23rd October 1972, I'm going to assume that's CE. So why don't we get rid of that? You might want it for dates that are small, though. Like if I put in here the end of the Roman Empire. Okay, that was, what do I got in here somewhere? That's that's 476 CE. So I'm just going to put the year 476 in here. And for that, you'd want to see 476 CE, right? Because the end of the Roman Republic, yeah, I spelled it right the first time. That was in, the end of the Roman Republic was 29 BCE, so negative 29. So there you go. So in those low dates like that, you want to see that. But for most modern dates, you don't need to see that. So I'm going to say everything from the year 1000 until the year 3000. Let's just not put a suffix on it. All right, how's that sound? So let's go in here, design view. So my suffix right here. Okay, and I'm going to say, all right, so if my year, let me zoom this in so you guys can see it better. If my year is less than 0, it's always going to be BCE. Otherwise, we're going to throw another if in here. This is a nested if function. Ready? If my year between, let's say, 1000 and 3000, comma, leave it blank. Otherwise, put the CE in there. All right, hit OK. All right, let's take another peek at it, just make sure. So if my year is less than 0, we always get a BCE. Otherwise, if my year is between 1000 and 3000, put nothing in there. Otherwise, put CE in there. So it's 452 CE or 4562 CE, so you know. All right, let's see what that looks like now. Save it. Go. Oh, beautiful. All right, 23rd October 1972. No CE at the end of it. But 776 BCE shows that. 476 CE. See, that's perfect. Okay. By the way, if you want just the 3-digit month in there, if you don't want that full guy, you could use the left function. There's all kinds of functions we can throw in here to make this really cool. Let's go back into our D function here, right? Instead of the whole my month, all right, we could just go, we could say left my month, right? The month name guy, and then go that left function, and right there, comma 3, like that. Hit OK, and run it. See, 23rd October, 21 April. And it's always 3 digits, right? Let's see, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, yeah, good. They all work out that way. It's always the first 3 characters. If you want that capitalized, throw a U case in there, right? I'm not going to do it, but you get the point. U case to convert to all uppercase. All right, I got videos on that. I'll put links down below if you want to learn about left and U case and all that stuff. Now, one more thing I want to do. All right, for normal, again, dates in our lifetime, that 4-digit year format is perfectly fine, right? 1972. But if I'm looking at that number, it's kind of hard to read. All right, I got to sit here and carefully count the zeros. I can't easily tell it's billion. So I'm going to say any number that's larger than like 10,000 or more. Let's put a comma in the format. Okay? Last thing we're going to do with this. So, one more time. Let's make this function even bigger here, this formula. All right, right around absolute year here. I'm going to say if absolute year is greater than 9999 in either direction, the absolute year, right? If that's the case, comma, put in here format absolute year, comma, 0,000. All right, close up the format, comma, absolute year, and then close parentheses there. Let me just hit OK, make sure I typed it all in right. Okay, good. Let's make sure it works. All right, it works. Right now I can very clearly and easily see that 65 million BCE, 70,000 BCE, 5 billion CE. All right, looks like we got one extra little space in there somewhere. Yeah, we got to put a space in there. Let me explain this real quick, and then we'll take a look at that space problem we got. All right, so this is saying if the absolute year is greater than 9999, okay, if it's 10,000 or more, format the absolute year as 0,000. That's the format to show any number with the thousands separator. So 1,000 would show with a comma 00, but I said only do that if the number is greater than is 10,000 or more. Otherwise, just show it as a normal 4-digit year like we're used to. Okay? Now this guy over here, we got the same problem. All right? We're seeing the actual extra space there. And that's because we're missing the year. Okay? If the year is missing, then we don't want that space there. So we got a space coming in after the month and also after the year. So we just need to tack that inside of here. All right, so we need to put this whole thing inside of an if is null too to get rid of that extra space. So if is null absolute year, then nothing. Otherwise, that whole thing and that space. Okay. Save it, and that problem's fixed. All right, there's your years. Now that's how you display it. All right, have the user enter it in 3 parts like that, and then display it like this. And now you would just use this date queue query on all of your forms and your reports, because as you can see, this query is still live. As long as you've only got data from one table in here, and no aggregates or grouping or any of that crazy stuff, you can still display these values and still enter and edit and delete data from the table. Remember, this is linked directly to the table. So you can use this date queue now. You can use this in your forms. Okay? You're still entering data in these fields. Okay? And then you can use this field on there, maybe gray it out so they can't see it, to display that. And this will now work very well in your reports as well. Want to learn more about this stuff? Well, for the members in the extended cut, we're going to build a data entry form. Now, for crazy dates, like BCE dates and all that stuff, you got to tell your people to type it in over here. But the majority of dates that people are usually working with are normal dates. So we're going to make a second form here, a second field for normal date entry. So if you've got birth dates or even something that's not too far in the future, like James Kirk's birthday, for example, you could type it in here in a normal date format, and our system will copy it over here and convert it. Okay. Plus, we'll add a US date field like this. So if you want to see it in this format instead of this format, I'll do that for you as well, too. So that's in the extended cut for members. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut videos. We are approaching 100 of them, so there's lots of material for you guys to watch. How do you become a member? Click on the Join button below the video. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, live video and chat sessions, and other perks. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. But don't worry, these tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and feel free to share it wherever you think it might help people who are interested in Access. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to be notified every time I post a new video. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted. So if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link below to join my mailing list. Click on the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 3 hours long, and you can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1, and that is free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my Tech Help page, and you can send me your question there. If you have a specific problem you need help with, or you'd like to discuss having a database built for your needs, I do offer one-on-one consulting. Be sure to follow my blog and find me on Facebook, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.